Hello, Wishbone8121 here, and welcome to Wishcraft. This is the Wishcraft realm. It is a Minecraft Bedrock survival realm, and as you can see over there, that is my super smelter. I decorated it a couple days ago. This is my fish farm, so yeah, I AFK'd here overnight so I could get more fish for my XP smelter. And there's my honey farm that was running, of course, and my sheep farm. And then off in the distance there, you can see the my bone meal farm that is hooked up to my infinite bamboo chest. If you missed my video on basically the best farm for furnace fuel, it's over there, and I think that's my third episode. Anyway, let's go see how much fish we have. Okay. Alrighty. Looks like we have quite a bit. Oh, this was almost out when I started AFKing, so the fish farm was really nice. Now, my infinite smelter, I made it basically when I started playing Minecraft 5 months ago. And I didn't really know anything about the game. I just kind of went with a couple videos and stuff. So if you want to make an infinite XP smelter, I would definitely, instead of using regular furnaces, I would use the smokers. Smokers are better because they cook things twice as fast. And I would just use one instead of two furnaces. Because I'm going to show you a neat trick here with the bedrock for infinite XP. Is see how there's 42 items? I just pull one out, and I get all the XP out of the furnace, and then I just pull one more out, and I get all the XP again. I pull one more out, and I get all the XP again. I can keep doing this over and over. So if this were a smoker, instead of having my XP split into two furnaces, it would just be one, and I would be able to get it over and over. I just flip these levers, and then items can't come out of the furnace, so they build up to 64, and then I just keep pulling one out at a time, and that's how I get all my levels. Or it's the fastest way for me to get all my levels. Even faster than my gold farm, as you can tell. If I were to jump off a cliff and kill myself, and we're at level 0, I think at this point I would gain about 75 levels just from pulling out one item. So yeah, if you want to build one of these, you can. I have mine directly set up to fish farm. So that fish farm up there is yeah, that's kind of ugly. I'm definitely going to decorate it at some point. Maybe I'll do it with all that smooth quartz I have or something. But anyway, this is more or less, it is loosely based off of Silent Whispers fish farm. Mine is, I made the dimensions a little bit different, but it's more or less the same. The components are all the same. You can watch this video if you want to make one. And then I have it hooked up to, inside there is a storage system. So it pulls out, there's hopper minecarts that run underneath the fish farm. See, there's the magma blocks that all the fish die on. And because fish can spawn above magma blocks in Bedrock Edition. They can't in Java, but they can in Bedrock. Hopper minecarts pick up all the fish. They put them into hopper minecart unloaders, and then I have item filters above that filter out the fish and throw the fish in one water stream, and that water stream feeds directly into these. And then I have a second water stream that takes everything else that got filtered out, such as ink sacs from squid that die in the fish farm, and bones. And as you can see, there's a lot of bone blocks in there too, so yeah. I have so many bone blocks, I don't really know what to do with them. I use them for my tree farm, which, does go through bone blocks really fast. But my tree farm's not very good. I want to switch it out for something else sometime. Anyway, I think that's all you need to know to make one of these. Oh, what might actually be better than a fish farm, because fish do smelt for 0.35 experience per fish, which is the highest of any item in the game. But a lot of stuff smelts for that much, and what might be just as good or perhaps even better is a villager-powered potato farm, because potatoes also smelt for 0.35 experience per potato. So, so that might be better. Because for a fish farm, you have to AFK in one particular spot. So obviously, when I do AFK in a particular spot, it works really well. But a villager farm, a villager-powered potato farm, now that does have a downside that it won't work during the night, but it will work whenever you're in simulation distance of it. So you don't have to be standing in one particular spot. So based off of your you know, where you're going to put yours, your infinite XP smelter, I would just keep that in mind. And let's get on with things. I think today I want to show how to make armor, tips and tricks for making armor. So let's go over to my Iron Farm Trading Hall. See, do I have any? Yeah, I have some junk in my inventory. Now, coolest thing about every single storage system I use, it always puts the extra items into lava at the end. That way, it never backs itself up and breaks itself. So you always want to do that with a storage system. Always, always, always have the last thing just chucking stuff into lava. That way, it never completely breaks. Now, yesterday I bought some books, and I bought there's some tridents. I have a drum farm, which will be good for getting copper. I'll probably show it when 1.17 comes out. Let's see, where's my armor? Here we go. All right, so I'm going to give my advice on armor. And I'll teach you how anvils work, because that's important. We'll start with chest pieces and legs, since those are the simplest. These have breaking on them. That's breaking. Oh, wow, that's actually pretty good. Okay, so basically, I've talked about it before, but you always want thorns 3 on all your gear. That way, when you AFK, you won't die. And you want to have a chest plate. I know all the pros, you know, like Hermitcraft people and people in Truly Bedrock, they run around without a chest plate and they never wear one. And then they also die. Well, yeah, I have not died since I got a full set of armor with protection 4. Because if I accidentally fall into a big giant lava lake, what I do is if, like, say I'm wearing my elytra, I just put my chest plate on. Because you can literally swim in lava with a full set of protection 4 with a chest plate. You can swim in lava for like about a minute and a half without dying. As long as you keep eating. So yeah, which is long enough for you to swim to shore in the nether if you accidentally fall in lava. Or you can just pillar up from the bottom. But I usually swim to shore since it's so hard to see in lava. But anyway, I'm going to teach you the math. Actually, I'm going to teach you first the math of how this works. So for enchantments, like protection versus blast protection versus fire protection, the way it works is each one has a number associated with it. So for protection 1, it gives you a enchantment protection of 1 to all damage. Protection 2 gives an enchantment protection of 2. Protection 3 gives an enchantment protection of 3. And then protection 4, this is why in Bedrock Edition protection is so strong, is that protection 4 gives you an enchantment protection of 5. Okay? So if I take any damage, it counts up all of my protection against that type of attack. Which, since I wear protection 4 on all my gear, that number is 20. So I have an enchantment protection value of 20. It has a special name, but I don't remember all the names. I just remember the math. And basically, the way this works is that then it takes my value, which is 20, and 25 is the maximum for any particular type of damage. So I'll go over that in a second. But but protection 4 works for all damage. So anytime I take any damage, it then takes my number, which is 20, and then it random rolls a number basically between 50 and 100. So it either takes the full value of the gear or down to half. So if it rolls the minimum value, then my gear will only be half effective, and it will protect me against 40% of the damage. If it rolls the highest value, 100, then it will protect against 80% of the damage, with the average being 60. So basically, protection 4 in Bedrock Edition, this is all for Bedrock only. Protection 4 on all of your gear, 4 pieces of gear, gives an average protection value of 60%. So that's how that works. Now, if I were to take, say, one piece of gear off protection and put like fire protection instead, which a lot of people do, then if I take any type of damage, like say getting shot by a skeleton or a ghast, so I take explosion damage. Then instead of that number being 20, that is reducing the damage, it goes down to 15. So then the average damage reduction is 30. It goes from between 30% to 60% with an average of 45, which is a huge difference. So explosions were hit a lot harder. Now, if I happen to also, on top of that, be missing a piece of gear, as I see a lot of streamers do, so they're not, they're wearing their elytra because they never wear a chest plate, and then on top of that, they're not wearing protection 4 on all their gear. They're wearing blast protection and fire protection on one piece and the other piece. Then it gets really hairy, because then they are very weak to most types of damage. And the thing is that if they just wore 3 pieces of protection, it would actually protect them more than wearing 1 piece of protection plus 1 fire protection plus 1 blast protection. The last piece of information for you math crazy people, if you really want to know, is that when you roll, like I said before, the maximum number is 25 for your enchantment protection. So if I did replace one of my pieces of gear with, actually we'll use Feather Falling for this. Feather Falling 4 has a protection value of 18. So that means I only need another 7 enchantment value for protection to maximize the amount of the enchantment value for taking fall damage. So as long as I'm wearing protection 4, that would bring it up to 22, and then even just it would bring it up to 23, and then even just protection 2 on one of my other pieces of gear would bring it up to the maximum value, so that my enchantment based damage reduction would be maximum, which is a value of 25. So then when I fall and hit the ground and I take damage, it will roll a random number, basically between 12.5 and 25. And then it will multiply that by 4. And that will be the percentage damage reduction I'll take. So I'll take between 50. I'll take between 50% damage reduction at the lowest. And then it would be 100% at the highest, but it actually doesn't work that way because it caps out at 80% damage reduction as the maximum. So basically I'll take between 50% and 80% damage reduction, with the median value being 75. So I'm very likely to take 80% damage reduction in that case, but basically any value for enchantment level that goes above 20 has a diminishing return because the maximum damage reduction is 80%, which is what you get from a protection value of 20. So, that's probably hard to understand, and if you're not very good at math, or even if you are good at math, that's probably still kind of complicated because I don't have like equations on a board or anything. Because whatever. I'll try to put it in the editing, but suffice it to say, just trust me that I'm really good at math. I'm actually a math genius. Just don't tell anyone. I try not to make it a big thing, but I am a math genius, and you can trust me that I do know the math. And so just put protection 4 on all your gear. And now we will get into actually making gear. Alrighty. And sorry, I'm drinking coffee if if you hear weird slurping sounds. Yeah, I just got up. So yeah. Let's get my books out. Get some thorns. I think all these already have unbreaking on them. Yeah, they do. So I just need mending. So on chest plates and leggings, you just want protection 4, thorns, mending, and unbreaking. And it works if you want to like enchant them. And then one thing I do with armor, I don't really need to anymore because I have I have most of the villagers. Except for Silk Touch, actually. That's the only one that's the only decent book I'm missing. What you can do is with the grindstone, you can just keep enchanting and unenchanting them over and over till you get something that you want. It's more important for boots because boots you need so many enchantments on them. But I'm going to show you the way to maximize your enchantments so that you use the least number of levels. So let's get into it. Again, this is going to be a little math heavy, but basically each type of enchantment has a certain cost. So protection 4, it costs 4 to put on a piece of gear. Thorns 3 costs 12. That's actually one of the most expensive ones. And then mending only costs 2. Okay. But here, let's take the most expensive one on first. Boom. So now before we looked at protection 4 and it cost 4, but now it's going to cost 5 because basically this chest plate now has a modifier on it where the game remembers that it has been used on an anvil once, so it has an anvil use of 1. So we'll remember that. So this will cost 5 now instead of 4, and if I put mending, it should say 3 instead of 2. Yep, there you go. So we'll set that aside for a second. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a book that has. We want to put. If we put the protection on the mending, it costs 4 because protection costs 4 to put something on. Mending on the protection, it costs 2. So we'll do that. So boom. Now this has this should cost 6 to put on something, if there were no anvil uses on it, right? But we know this has an anvil use on it, and this has an anvil use on it. So let's see what happens when we put them together. See, there's 8. So basically, the enchantments cost 6, and then this book has an anvil use of 1, so that's plus 1, so that's 7. And then this has an anvil use of 1 also, so that's 8. Now the cool thing is that when you add these together, the way it works is it takes the number of anvil uses for each item, and it adds 1 to whatever the highest is. So this is just going to have an anvil use of 2, even though it was made from. Technically, I've used the anvil 3 times to make things that make it. So we'll do that really quick. And then, like I said, like I showed earlier, you want to take the books that are less expensive and put them together. That way, you never reach a point where you're trying to put a book on something that costs 39 levels or more. Broke that anvil. And boom, got those all maxed out. I don't know where. I'll just put them in here. Okay. Now I'll show you how to do helmets. Okay, these already have Aqua Affinity on them, so it's just going to be a slightly more complicated. We need Respiration 3, Mending, Breaking, and now we'll need a Breaking on these also because these do not have a Breaking like the last sets of gear did. Thorns 3, and Protection 4. So let's look at this carefully. Which books are the most expensive? It's got to be Thorns. Protection costs 4. Respiration 3 costs just 2. Oh, because it already has Respiration on this, so it's less expensive than normal. Yeah, that one costs 4. Okay, so again, first of all, we're going to add 1 to it, so that it is now has a anvil use of 1. And then we're going to make a book with an anvil use of 2, or of also 1. So that has an anvil use of 1. This has an anvil use of 1. And now we'll add a book to each of these, so that it now has an anvil use of 2. Okay. And now if I needed to keep putting more and more things on this, I would then make a book with an anvil use of 2. So I could mix 2 books together, another 2 books together, and then add those 2 together to get 4 more enchantments and then put it on. But I'd wanted them to be really cheap, or else you would reach the point where you can't put it on. Oops, I made a mistake there. I should have added these 2 books together instead of doing separately. That's going to cost more than it needed to. Yeah, see, that's only cost 9. Okay, there we go. Let's see, there we go, and then. Let's see what the last things are. We got boots with Unbreaking and Depth Strider 2. So they need Protection 4, Thorns. They have Unbreaking already. They need Mending. They need Depth Strider, Soul Speed, and Feather Falling. Now let's look at these books again. Thorns is really expensive. That's what's 8? It's 8 because 8 instead of 12 because it already has Thorns 1 on these. Feather Falling is just 4. That's not that bad. But what's really expensive is Soul Speed. Yep, that's 12. So we're gonna put Soul Speed on these first. Then let's see. So those now have a value of 1. We're going to take Thorns and put on Depth Strider. Thorns and Depth Strider, and then we'll add that to those. And now we should be able to just add these 3 books together. Let's see if this works. Yep, there you go. And that should be the... now you got perfect boots, and if I rename them, that'll tell you, yeah, enchantment cost 8 to rename, which means they only have a 3 uses on them. So basically 3 anvils. Oh, shoot. Diamond boot. I did not mean to do that. Okay, yeah. Yeah. That was funny. Yep. So now you know how this stuff works. You should be able to make gear really easily now. So if you didn't catch it, a very quick recap is when you're building gear like this, you put 1 book on the gear, and then it has an anvil value of 1, anvil use of 1. Then you make a book with an anvil use of 1 by putting 2 books together, put that book on it, so that it has an anvil use of 2. And then you can make a big book by putting, you can put two books together and then 2 more books together, and then put those 2 books together to make a book with 4 things on it. But you want to have it be the cheap things, the things that don't take that many levels to put on, and then add that whole book on, and then it'll have an anvil use of 3. And at that point, there's nothing in the game that you actually need to make that has that many books. So you're pretty much good from there.